Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at noon.
We're starting with breaking news for you this noon. A student is in custody after an online threat was made against Fargo South High School. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Bosch. Police and school officials are investigating a threat on social media overnight that said a student was going to shoot up the school. A district spokesperson tells Valley News Live that police saw the threat soon after it was posted, went to the person's home, and took the student into custody. Now, after investigation, officials deemed the threat was not credible, in part because the student had no means of following through with it. Now, the district did send out a notification to parents this morning that the school was operating normally. However, one viewer tells Valley News Live that it seemed like about half of the students at Fargo South didn't show up for classes today. We'll have much more on this story coming up tonight on Valley News Live. Also new for you at noon, a young boy escaped serious injury this morning when he was hit by a vehicle while riding his bike to school in Grand Forks. It all happened at the intersection of Columbia Road and 40th Avenue South, right near Discovery Elementary School. The boy was checked out by emergency responders and did not have to go to the hospital. Now, all of this happened while Valley News Team's Neil Carlson was in the area working on a story about school crossing safety. We'll also have more on this story coming up tonight on Valley News Live. A developing story out of southeastern Minnesota, major flooding after a big rainstorm overnight. Look what people in Waseca woke up to. People there dealing with the aftermath of 13 inches of rain overnight. Flash floods pushed water across city streets and even into people's backyards. It's much of the same story in parts of the Twin Cities where people got caught by floodwater that swamped streets and stranded drivers. More rain is expected there today. Well, we are getting a break from the rain here in the valley. Good news, too, because it doesn't sound like it's going to last very long. Let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Green, who's got our forecast for this first day of fall.
Thanks, Kyle. Yeah, starting to cloud up already in some parts of the valley, and on top of that, we do have that rain chance coming up for later on in the forecast. Today, though, mostly on the dry side for this first day of fall. We officially changed over at 9:21. That was when the equinox occurred, which actually means equal night, which basically is saying that generally speaking on this date, we have equal amounts of daylight and nighttime, and we start losing daylight, or we continue to lose daylight as we inch our way toward winter. Here's a look at the latest visible satellite and radar. Good news for parts of southern Minnesota. The rain is moving out. We are quiet here. Notice all those clouds in the southern valley, though. Those are going to try to work their way northward throughout the afternoon hours. That may cause some partly to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures right now in the 60s in a lot of spots. 62 in Grand Forks, on our way in some spots to the 70s. We'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, we will see you then, Lisa. Thank you very much. Developing for you at noon, the police chief in Charlotte, North Carolina says the family of Keith Scott has asked for and will be allowed to see the video of an officer shooting him. But the public should not expect the video to be immediately released. The news all comes after a second night of unrest in reaction to Scott's shooting death. Overnight, numerous storefronts in the uptown area were broken into. Businesses there were looted. There were also shots fired overnight, leaving at least one person in critical condition. Now, police are saying that Scott had a gun when he was shot and killed. His family, however, maintains he was unarmed. The governor of North Carolina has declared a state of emergency in the city of Charlotte. There's also talk that this weekend's football game between the Minnesota Vikings and Carolina Panthers could be moved because of the unrest. A U.S. fighter pilot is safe after having to eject from his jet before it crashed into the waters off the Japanese island of Okinawa early this morning. Officials say the Marine Corps pilot was on a routine training mission in a Harrier jet at the time. They are still trying to determine the cause of that crash. A district judge has said no to a request for a temporary release from jail by the brother of the man accused in the St. Cloud Mall stabbing attack. Abdullahi Adan is in the Cass County Jail on drug charges. His brother, Dahir Adan, was killed by an off-duty police officer after allegedly stabbing 10 people at a St. Cloud Mall Saturday night. Also developing today, UND police are trying to figure out if a Snapchat picture that's sparking controversy was meant as a joke or if it's an act of racism. A harassment report was made by two people, including the victim, over this picture. Now, the victim says that she had left her phone in her room and 3 students used it to take a picture and post a story on Snapchat with the caption referencing her race. Now, the picture was later shared on Facebook and called for UND to take action. UND's president did release a statement saying he is shocked that people would think this was a joke. A man from northwestern Minnesota is facing a long list of charges after the alleged physical and sexual abuse of a family member. 29-year-old Jared Renner of Lengby is facing 5 felony counts. They involve a female victim. The most serious carries a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. Well, in our election 2016 coverage today, early voters in Minnesota will be able to make their picks starting tomorrow. Minnesota Secretary of State has been making stops around the state this week, trying to teach people about the early voting process. He was at MSU Moorhead yesterday. Now, if you would like to vote early, we have a link with details on how to do it posted at our website. Just head to valleynewslive.com and click on the hot button. Well, in North Dakota, absentee voting is set to begin September 29th in most Cass and Grand Forks counties. And if you go, you'll be able to cast that ballot without an ID. Earlier this year, a federal judge in North Dakota blocked the state's voter ID law, and this week he ruled that people can vote by filling out an affidavit. 7 members of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa had sued the state over a voting law passed in 2013, arguing that voter ID requirements unfairly impacted Native Americans. The No on Measure 3 campaign is now underway in the state of North Dakota. A team of 7 organizations, including North Dakota trial lawyers, the Victims Assistance Association, and retired district court judges, are all working to get Marsy's law voted down. The campaign is against the measure because it says it never went through the legislative process and contains flawed language. People in favor of Measure 3 say it will give rights to victims and adds protection for those who need it. Bad news for 5 lakes in Minnesota. The Department of Natural Resources has confirmed new reports of zebra mussels, and in our area, that list includes Lake Sally in Becker County. The zebra mussels were found at 3 locations in Lake Sally, which borders campsites at the popular Sioux Pass Ranch, the grounds of WeFest. Sally is downstream from Detroit Lake, where zebra mussels were confirmed earlier this year. From fun haircuts to shaved heads or maybe a bold pop of color, today, people will be showing their support for families in the Valley fighting cancer. The event is coming up tonight at the Bowler in South Fargo. It's called Brave Cuts, Bold Colors. Now, gold is the color for childhood cancer, so some people are putting a colored streak in their hair to show support and raise awareness. Donations from the event will go to support families at Sanford Children's Hospital and the Roger Maris Cancer Center. The event goes from 4 to 8 tonight.